evening, everyone. I'm Saatchi. I'm very honoured to be the chairman of the Centre for Policy Studies, and even more honoured to see what a fantastic gathering this is. I am so grateful, and I want to pass on our thanks to the leader of the Conservative Party, who's going to give us the honour of speaking to us in a few minutes, and maybe or maybe not, seeing if he wants to take a few questions from the floor. We'll see how he feels. Before I say what I have prepared to say, I'd like to agree with all of you that we are going to send a message to our founder, Margaret Thatcher. You know that she's been in hospital. She had the operation on her arm. That's why she's not here. She's written us a most beautiful letter today in terms of what part the CPS played in her early life and what she hopes will be its future. So can I take it that you will join me in sending her, if I may, a round of applause for creating the CPS and good wishes for her recovery? I think you all remember May 1979. Everyone remembers Margaret Thatcher's victory, which was the first of many. But a less well-known event, as Jill, the director, a brilliant director, said occurred five years before that election victory, and the two are not unrelated, because Margaret Thatcher and Keith Joseph defined all the winning arguments of our time. They said about free markets, small state, low tax, belief in independence, individuality, self-determination. The result of all of it was 4 election victories in a row and a complete revolution in economic policy. The winning arguments that I think the CPS with Mrs. Thatcher developed, we know what they are. A rising tide lifts all ships. If you want a bigger slice of cake, the best thing to do is bake a bigger cake, because then everyone gets a bigger slice. Caring that works costs cash, they said. And she pointed to the story of the Good Samaritan to show that first you need the money in order to do the good works. They said that low tax was good for moral reasons, because it meant more freedom and choice for individuals, and for economic reasons, because, ironically, lower tax rates meant higher tax revenue in the long run. She combined her idealism with the good old Tory virtue of pragmatism, and in doing that, she allowed the romantic to feel at home in company which might otherwise have seemed too hard-headed for their taste. She was, in JFK's phrase, brilliant phrase, an idealist without illusions, which is why I have here a piece of paper which I don't think many of you will be familiar with it. I'm sure David is, but I don't know whether you are. This is a piece of paper which is attested to be, by the clerk, attested to be a true record of a motion passed unanimously on May the 12th, 2009, by the Congress of the United States of America. The preamble has various things in it. I'll read you a very short extract. Whereas Margaret Hilda Thatcher was leader of the Conservative Party and the only woman ever to hold that post, whereas Margaret Thatcher is the only woman to have ever held the post of Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, whereas Margaret Thatcher gave birth to a new distinctive ideology which emphasized individual responsibility in the United Kingdom's monetary and social policies. So it goes on. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the House of Representatives of the United States of America acknowledges the 30th anniversary of the election of Margaret Thatcher as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, pays tribute to the remarkable achievements of Margaret Thatcher, recognises Prime Minister Thatcher's dedicated work in promoting individual rights and free markets around the world. Now this, my friends, is all because she founded the Centre for Policy Studies. So, now, the question which is now on your minds, and is on everyone's mind, is who can possibly follow that? Well, I have him here. He's on my left. You know that Isaiah Berlin said that the distinguishing characteristic of a great man or a great woman is that they make what seemed highly improbable, in fact, happen. Well, who thought it probable when David Cameron took over the leadership of the Conservative Party after 3 election defeats in a row, certainly not the people who handed him that legacy. Who thought it probable that in a few short years, the leader of the Conservative Party would develop a commanding lead over the Labour Party in government? Nobody thought that was probable. Some people say about David Cameron that he's a lucky general. By that, what they tend to mean is that he had the good luck to coincide with an inadequate Prime Minister at the time. But that's not it at all. The great point to remember about David Cameron is that he established a 10-point lead over the 3-time election winner, supposedly invincible, Tony Blair. That was the reason that the Labour Party got rid of Tony Blair as Prime Minister and brought on his replacement. And now David Cameron has established a 10-point lead over that replacement. This, my friends, is not the act of a lucky general. This is the act of a brilliant general. And I say to you here and now that by virtue of his intelligence, just listen to him now, by virtue of his charisma, just look at him, and by virtue of his stamina, just think what he's been through, I say to you here and now that David Cameron has the capacity to be, as Margaret Thatcher was in the 20th century, one of the great prime ministers of the 21st century. I'd now like to introduce you to the next Prime Minister of Great Britain, David Cameron.